Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I'm outside. The weather's mostly nice. I'm in the yard, and this is episode 100. I swerved at the last minute with it. I was going to do this big edit with a bunch of new music and a bunch of different things and really play it up, and I just don't have that kind of time in a day, unfortunately. And it was taking too long to get everything rendered and get everything working right, and I had a lot of problems with audio. So what I did was, instead, I've switched to live. So here we are. We're going to do it live. Episode 100 of the Uncanny Spirits Club. This one's a special one. I've got a few other videos I'm going to play during this. I'm grilling some food. I got some burgers over there. And we're going to have a good time. I hope so. Anyway, I'm simultaneously streaming this to the Uncanny Spirits Club YouTube channel, as well as to the This Uncanny Earth YouTube channel, because Rob did help me start the Uncanny Spirits Club, and it's only fair that he be involved in the process as well for episode 100. And he's in one of these videos coming up as well. So, yeah, what are we doing? I'm going to present to you Uncanny Spirit number 1. I made this. I made whiskey. I made it out of vodka. I made it out of absolute vodka, aged it, which is not unheard of. I mentioned it throughout a couple of times in the various videos coming up, but High West Distillery, I believe they're out of Colorado, they have some of their expressions have been created from using vodka as their grain neutral spirit base. So I got a kit, and I did all these videos out of order, so the chronology is kind of like all over the place. But I am going to go ahead and play you the product reveal of how I made this and the various things involved. So I'm going to punch that up for you, and then I'll be back. Okay, hey everybody, welcome. This is the 100th episode, of course. By the time you get to this segment, I'm sure you've already watched at least some other parts of it, or this might be near the beginning. I haven't arranged everything yet as of this recording, and I'm leaving all this like conjecture stuff in because I do everything as if it's live. And so it seems kind of like hastily thrown together, but I am taking the time to stitch everything into a cohesive whole. But I should have already showcased at least the kit in my initial tasting before I did the or do, if I haven't got to them yet on this video, the other tastings from my other guests. But the kit, this is an in-depth look at the kit that I used to craft Uncanny Spirit number 1. And I used it for both batch 1 and batch 2. So this is the Craftly Do Make Your Own Whiskey kit. And it's called Do Your Whiskey. It doesn't say so on the front there, but that's what it's called on the back with the branding. It's a nice box. On the back, it has all of the instructions and everything that's supposed to come with it. So let's dive into it so I can kind of explain the process. Now, this is not a paid endorsement. These people have no idea who I am unless they've somehow stumbled across my videos. I haven't gotten in contact with them. I got this as a gift, so no money on my part changed hands between them and myself or vice versa. So this is an unpaid, unsolicited review discussion of the product. It is not a sponsor review or anything like that. So I have not begun to sell out. No worries there. I just wanted to go over everything that was in it because it was pretty cool. So inside the box, you have 2 of these, which are empty 350 milliliter bottles. Okay, these are for the mixing and the filtering and all the other things. They each have their own synthetic corks. And you have a selection of wood chips, each one of them labeled, and each one is a different kind of wood. Of course, the 2 that I used were the American Sweetheart, which was the American Oak, and you can tell that I've used this one, and I have another empty one. Oh, this one got broken. Wow. This one actually broke at some point after I'd been using it, so I guess I wasn't so rough on it. But it's empty anyway. I used these during my batches. Better set that aside. I don't want that to cut anybody. And then, of course, the dark chocolate chips, which are the French Oak. Okay. As you can see, I've used a whole one of those and a half of another. And then the Vanilla Dream, which I still have to use. And I don't recall what type of wood this is, but it will tell me in the instructions, which are in the house. I don't have the instructions on me right now. But you get 2 of each type of wood chip, and that's for aging. You take a grain neutral spirit like vodka, you load it in, you load the chips in, and you let it sit with the cork in a cool, dry place for a certain amount of time. It's mostly up to your preference, but they give you some guidelines. They say start like at a week at a time and taste it every so often. It's good advice. As you know, I double oaked it. I should have explained this already by the time this video gets here. So if I haven't for some reason, now I'm explaining it now. I double oaked it with the 2 different kinds. Then they have the infusions, which are flavor infusions. It's got bird's eye chili, which as you can see, it's still sealed. Not much of a person for that. Orange peel, which I'm considering making an old-fashioned inspired, all-inclusive, like cocktail kind of whiskey. Because I like an old-fashioned, and orange peel is very important for that. Chai mix, which I'm not sure how, I don't know about whiskey, but it's included. Cocoa beans, as you can see, I've used quite a few of those. That was one of the primary parts of my recipe. Cinnamon. Cinnamon is one of the ones that I forgot. I forgot about them including cinnamon. There's chunks of cinnamon. And the coffee beans. As you can see, I used all of the coffee beans. And as a nice little bonus, it also comes with 6 whiskey stones, which are these metal stones that you stick in the freezer to chill, and then there'll be the temperature of an ice cube, and then you put those in your drink without worry of the drink melting. They don't hold that temperature for very long, but it's just enough to chill down the whiskey or the spirit that you're going to be drinking for a minute or 2 for you to enjoy it. So that's what's all included in the kit. You can see it's laid out really nicely. The other bottle in here isn't here because it has my test batch and it's still in the house. And it's a cool little kit. I like it. And I think I followed up on their website to check the ins and outs on it after the fact. And there's a few different types. You can get these. You can get other ones that are geared more towards gin, which you can make your own gin, which is basically the same process, but instead of the oak chips and things to try to age it into whiskey, you basically just use botanicals and the infusions to create a gin out of a grain neutral spirit like vodka. So that is the kit. I can't tell you off the top of my head how much it is. Somebody's driving by. But I will look that up in time to finish out the entirety of this collection of videos so that you folks know what the pricing involved is with this. I believe it's affordable. The only thing you really have to make what's the word I'm looking for? Investiture. The only thing you have to invest in. There we go. Not how to talk today. The only thing you have to invest in is the actual spirits, which I used Absolute Vodka, which was about, it was a 750 milliliter bottle, and it was about $30. And I still had a bit left over after I did all this, and we've since gone through most of it, I think, in other things, cocktails and whatnot. But it will last you a bit for what you're trying to do here. Um, and that's all there is to it. It like I said, it has the ingredients, it has the instructions, it has everything that you might need, plus some stories and explanations in the instruction packet of where they sourced some of these ingredients, what the ingredients classically have been used for, like historical facts and things like that. And it's a pretty interesting kit. I do have plans to make a few more bottles of different things, probably slightly different recipes, or tinkering with the main recipe. I have to order a few more of the bits and bobs from the kit, like more of the chips and things to be more effective with it. But I'm also looking into doing some gin experiences. I'm experiencing some gin experiments. That's what I'm going to be doing in the near future. So keep an eye out for that, and keep watching this video for all of my different taste reactions from the other people involved, as well as my own top to bottom review on what I created, because it was a learning experience, and there is definitely a lot that can be improved upon even, and there's a lot going for what I created and what it is at the moment. So thank you for watching this segment. Keep on watching. There's a bit more to go. All right, and here I am back again. The price for that kit, by the way, is roughly $60, $59.99. You can get it from Amazon for like $59.90. You can get it from a few other places. Some places are more like 65, etc., etc. But yeah, $59.99 on average it would be for that kit, which when you get roughly a bottle and a half or more whiskey out of it, I'd say it's worth it, to be honest, depending on how yours turns out. If yours turns out really good, there you go. If it doesn't turn out quite so nice, well, you know, you learn something. Mine is kind of in between as far as the reviews go. And I have two reviews by other people to come up, and I have constructive criticism from both of them. I took the positive and the negative because that's what this was. It was an experiment, and there is room for improvement with it. But first off, I'm going to have my brother-in-law, Joshua. He's going to be tasting it with me. I went over to his apartment and let him taste both batch number 2 and batch number 1. Batch number 1 is what I started with, and they're both a little on the different side. Batch number 2, I think, worked out better than 1 because I changed some things, but you'll be able to figure out what they thought about it. So let me drop out here and put up that video, and you can see what Joshua thought about it. And we have a general talk about some other whiskey things at the same time. So stick around. There we go. Okay. I had a little craziness with the edit there. We're back with another tasting for the 100th episode. As of this recording, I haven't actually edited it all together, so I have no idea whether this is the first tasting or the second tasting or the third tasting or whatever tasting. So we're just going to go with it. This is my brother-in-law, Joshua. He is a whiskey, bourbon, etc. aficionado, and he's going to be, I want to get his thoughts on it because I have a small circle of people that I know personally that drink like I do. Well, maybe not like I do, but because that's bad for you. But who have similar tastes that I do. And I wanted to get everybody's thoughts about it. So we've brought bottle of Uncanny Spirit #1. Batch #2, because batch #1, of course, is our test bottle. We're going to do the regular one first.
Okay.
Test bottle second. The test bottle is going to be what's going to. So let's pour this up. Let's pour this up a bit.
You are?
Now, normally, most people know I would do a little bit of water, but this is something to get the full effect. You want to have it straight up, at least initially, just to see what it's like. So let me pour first yours. I'm going to go with that because it is a bit of an experience. Now, it looks a little bit lighter in the glass.
There's some viscosity to it.
Yep. Now, this was, as explained, based off of 80 proof absolute vodka.
Okay, the good stuff.
Yeah, so it wasn't bottom shelf, it wasn't just some junk, but it wasn't expensive either. The absolute vodka is in the neighborhood of like 20, 30 some dollars, off the top of my head. And I used the Do Your Whiskey kit, which I was going to bring again to remind you folks what I used, and then I forgot. So you're just going to have to rewind or fast forward in the videos to find it. But yeah, it's definitely something else. So
I will say on the nose, it's very vanilla-y, which is kind of surprising.
Now that's one thing I neglected to mention. I did add a little bit of vanilla extract in the last infusion with the.
Maybe you shouldn't tell me.
With the other things in there, but
yeah, I'd say vanilla, just a little bit of caramel, which I mean you kind of expect.
Yeah. Now, just to remind everybody, this is, believe it or not, a legitimate way for some people to make whiskey. Some people make whiskey using the vodka method. They take vodka as a neutral grain spirit and then they adjust it in the barrels and whatnot as they go. High West Distillery actually does that with some of their expressions, and I like what they put out. I do like that. So yeah, let's see what it's like. Cheers.
Okay, that is very smoky,
Mm-hmm.
like really dark smoke. Something you wouldn't expect from, like, say, a bourbon,
Yeah,
or even maybe with some Irish whiskeys. But
it's got a bit of a burn to it.
just a little bit.
Not anything that's like, it doesn't overwhelm you. It just kind of slowly settles in the back of the throat.
It's surprisingly smooth, but that kind of the dark, I'd say the woodiness is very dark and smoky. It reminds me, it's not the same, but it reminds me just a bit of the aftertaste of Lafroig. Not nearly as intense, not nearly quite as like bonfire-like, but if there's another whiskey that I could, at least relate that to.
Now that I think about it, because I hadn't thought about that before, because there's nothing peated in here. But
no, it's not.
Once you said that, now I actually am getting kind of some reminders.
And it's all on that back half.
And it settles nicely into a chocolatey, like little. It was almost like, to me, like chocolate cereal, like marshmallowy chocolate cereal. As it settles, when you first get that burst, it's a lot of wood. Like, it's a lot. And the kinds of wood chips that I used for this, another reminder, because you don't know the exact kind yet. I used wood chips from New American Oak, which would be standard for bourbon, and French oak. So that's where the double came from. So that kind of is informing. I think the French oak is what's getting some of that smoky flavor, unless the American oak had been charred first, which didn't give any indication that it was.
Okay.
The chips looked fine, and they didn't smell too smoky, but I didn't actually look into that. So it's an interesting thought.
I was assuming it was some form of oak because some of that bite reminds me of, if you've ever been around fresh oak lumber and you're like, it's fresh as can be, like right as you cut it. You can almost taste it in the air. There's that like there's a same I don't know how to perfectly describe it because there's almost like a heat there that's not alcohol related, just from that smell. If that makes any sense.
It's a bit of spiciness. It could almost pass for a rye. Almost.
I wouldn't if you gave this to me and just said that you bought it off the shelf and you asked me to discern what kind of whiskey, I'd probably have a pretty difficult time because it doesn't taste like a bourbon. Like there's like the vanilla scents and whatnot that you typically get from a bourbon, but you can find that across most whiskeys. But that taste is more like between a rye and a scotch. You could probably fool me into thinking it was somewhere in that family because there's, especially on the nose, just a hint of like baking spice, but it's not really there when you drink it. You could probably convince me that this is some type of scotch.
And that's a good high point for me because I'm generally, I like a good scotch. I don't often get scotch because scotch in this area is one of the more expensive bottles you can get.
Well, it's more expensive and you just don't have the same variety.
Yeah.
There's just not much out there. Although they have like the good ones like Glenfiddich and whatnot. You can get Glenmorangie, you can get the nice stuff.
Macallan, you can still get if you want to spend $200-300.
Yeah, and Lefroy.
Glenlivet, depending. You can get that for a little bit cheaper depending on what bottle you get.
But you just don't have the variety. Same with Irish whiskeys. And of course, in America, we have tons of bourbons to pick from, or just like American single malts, American blends. We have that galore, along with a healthy mixture of rye. But the European stuff, at least in our area, is just hard to get.
Yeah. We actually have, it's actually interesting because we have less choice in the Canadian whiskey too, as well.
Yeah,
because you turn around at and usually on the Canadian whiskey side, you got Crown Royal.
Yeah, it's Crown
almost
Royal
for everything, and then you get a couple little bottles, maybe some Pendleton, or you get some Black Velvet and stuff in there, different places, and that's about it.
It's like I wonder if maybe like in Britain and stuff, if they look at the whiskey section like, oh, I want to try an American bourbon, and it's like almost all Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey with maybe a few other things.
It'd be interesting. It would be interesting. But that is Uncanny Spirit number 1. Batch number 2. Actually, before we finish up here, we need to finish this.
That's right.
So you can try what the original was like. This is something.
I'm scared because this is already a little intense, but it's pleasant. I'm scared with that because you basically said that was double aged compared to this.
Double the age of everything that was put in it. So double the chips and double the infusion. Or time wise, not necessarily the amount. But it's clearly, since this was a smaller bottle, this was the test. And obviously I didn't stick with that exact recipe because I would almost want to make a third one, batch number 3, but I'm running a little bit low on some of the chips and things. But that might be okay because I might use less.
Gentler.
Yeah, I might use less chips for the same amount of time. It's hard to say. It's kind of one of those science experiment things where you don't know if you want to do less time, less chips. I wanted to make sure it was no longer vodka for sure. That's the one thing I wanted to avoid. I didn't want to just be dark brown vodka.
Yeah.
So, and I've accomplished that at least. Whether it's something that anybody would want to buy off the shelf, I don't know. But this is unique, and I probably won't be mass producing this in my kitchen.
I was just thinking, you know what brand this reminds me of? It reminds me of like I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the Dewar's.
The Dewar's?
Dewar's Scotch.
That's how I call it. I don't know if that's exactly how it is.
I'm not sure. I just know I've had a bottle of like the 12-year. It reminds me of that. Out of all the whiskeys I've tasted, this would probably be the closest comparison I could have.
Let that sit for a minute. I'm going to let you smell this. I don't know if it smells too different, but it is.
It's because of the shape of the bottle, but
could be. It's deceptive.
Yeah,
it's deceptive. The oak taste on this, though, is by a lot.
I was gonna say, I'll
So we're gonna have less of this than
yeah,
we did with the
I
other
was
one,
gonna ask,
because
like, I don't know if I can handle.
we're just gonna have. I had the thought too. I knew you were gonna have the Glencairns, but I thought about bringing my little tin cups.
Oh,
Just to have like little smidges.
Yeah.
Because that's how I did the initial tasting at home, but I forgot that. Clearly, I've got this gigantic project and I've forgotten. But you guys know how we do it. I don't do any sort of like it's recorded live all the time, so it's gonna be live somehow. Anyhow, let's take a little bit of this.
Have mercy on me.
Just a smidge, because this is the stuff here. And you'll understand, I think, why I chose to let it kind of change up the recipe a little bit.
Okay. That's goodness.
I think there was more coffee in this one as well.
That makes sense.
Because the final infusion,
Like, this smells.
I had
way more
used
like.
more coffee beans in the test than I had. And I could have found some coffee beans around my house. I mean, I got my own coffee, but I didn't think about it. And I didn't want to adjust, like, because most of my coffee beans are flavored. I didn't want to throw in some random flavors. So
If you wouldn't have said coffee beans, I would have thought like a dark baking spice. But yeah, that's definitely coffee bean in there.
yeah, this is going to be something else. So this is the test bottle. This is the test bottle.
I'm nervous.
So there we go.
Oh
yeah, that oak.
Oh,
It's all oak.
I feel like I just bit into a piece of wood.
It's oak with black coffee, and that's it.
There's like maybe just the lightest hint of like a chocolate in there, but like I don't mean this is like if you just had baker's chocolate with wood pieces in it and coffee beans, and you were just
what's the most bitter stuff I can put in this on this block of wood, and that's what you got. Ooh, you can tell the difference.
That's vastly
between this and what the final product was.
That being said, tasting this now, I think if you would have coffee beans or a higher amount in that other batch, that would have been a fun. I would say if you're doing a batch 3, try that next time, because that's pleasant. It's just this is overpowering. It's like having too much of a good thing. Like if you have if you like spicy food and you're like, I'll throw in a few habaneros, that's tasty. And then someone's like, well, what about 20 habaneros? And it's like, well, I don't know, man.
Now it's interesting because the kit comes with like 4 or 3 different kinds of oak chips. It comes with the American oak, it comes with the French oak, and it comes with the third one. I don't remember what the third one is. I haven't tried that yet. Yeah, it's a lot. It's not marketable, is what that is.
No.
But and that's why I wanted to do the video, because the facial expressions for that at least are paramount.
Like the smell is so pleasant. Like I wouldn't think like, oh man, that's not edible, but
it's really deceptive.
I'm like, man, that smells so pleasant. There's such a rich coffee and chocolate.
And now that I remember, I also tried to make it. I tried to improve it by adding a little bit more of the plain vodka into it and letting it blend a little bit to like even out the taste.
I feel,
and it just didn't help.
I probably would have done that myself, but then like after a few days of thinking,
it didn't help. Yeah, the kit comes with the 3 different kinds of oak chips. It comes with the coffee beans, which are just standard regular coffee. It comes with cacao. It comes with a few other things. It comes with chilies.
Oh, okay.
To make that. So when you said the jalapeno, it comes with chilies. Because the kit's supposed to be not necessarily just for whiskey, but you can actually make your own gin or make your own something else, which is another experiment in the future, making some gin.
I think the gin will be pretty, I'm not going to say easy, but a bit more of a less tumultuous task, because with gin, that really is vodka just infused, or at least I'm going to say, I think at least half the companies out there, most of them are just like taking vodka and like dipping, it's like a tea bag method where you dip the stuff in there. So I think that'll be at least easier to accomplish as opposed to maybe making a refined whiskey this way. That's going to take a lot more practice. And
you don't use the oak, so you don't got to worry about that. You just got to get your botanicals right. And what we have is the garden full of different things.
That's right, you do.
And that's what we're going to use. We're going to take most everything from the garden and see what we can get at with a couple things probably gotten from the store.
I will say for gins, I know you don't really have this in your garden, at least I don't think you do. When gins have citrus notes in there, when they've got either lemon or orange in there, I think it's a little more pleasant and easier to blend into stuff. After all, gin was originally, at least from what I know, aimed a bit more towards mixed drinks and cocktails. So, definitely make a handful of different batches, but I will say, like, if you add that in there, I think it's a little bit easier to mix with stuff. Yeah,
we've got lemon balm and we've got orange mint. So, like, we've got some interesting. We got a lot of different kinds of mint. She's got like I don't know how many kinds of mint. The whole yard's mint. But
the scent of this is so pleasant. Like this, I could see easily being like a really high-end masculine,
like a soap or a spray.
Spray. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
There we go. There we go. Now we have the alternate marketing for the test bottle.
Well, I mean, I forget the name of the method. I guess I'm not a professional at this, but where they kind of throw it up onto the hand.
Yeah.
And because it's alcohol and evaporates, you can just kind of rub it to kind of get the extra notes in there, like that, like using it as some sort of spray. Like, I think ladies would love the smell of this. I'm just saying.
There you go. Now we're thinking. Now we have a use for everything. Nothing is wasted.
You just get that.
Nothing is wasted.
Deep coffee. Like, it's really noticeable compared to the other one. That coffee, and that I think the coffee and wood makes that dark chocolate sort of scent in there.
All right. Well, that's that tasting. I want to thank Joshua for being on and giving his thoughts. It was very informative. Thanks. Now I've got some marketing ideas.
Thanks for the interesting experience.
So you folks stay tuned. I've got a couple more parts to this lengthy video to go, and then that'll be it. Episode 100. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, back again. That's kind of interesting how I pop in the side there and then take over. I don't know. Little things that amuse me. So those were Joshua's thoughts on both batches, batch 1 and 2 of Uncanny Spirit number 1. And it's interesting how people's palates work. How different people will pull out different flavors and different tastes and sensations from something. Because I've said this before on a lot of my reviews that I'm not the best reference for some of these things because I can only go off of what my palate is telling me, and it doesn't always match what people will say on the back of the bottle or the reviews from other people, and like they'll come up with all kinds of crazy stuff on the nose, like, oh, this reminds me of grandmother's oatmeal in the fields of Sicily or something. And I don't know, I can't get that in depth with it. I taste sometimes, oh, it tastes sweet, it tastes like chocolate, it tastes like fruit, it tastes like this. It's real simple for me. And I don't know if that's helpful for anybody who watches the channel or not, but that's how it works for me. Keeping it simple. Next up is the video of my This Uncanny Earth brother, Mr. Robert Solomon. He was kind enough to review it for me as well in the Uncanny Studios, and he had some interesting thoughts. He had a lot of in-depth critique about it, which I'm took to heart, and I'm interested because I'm going to start making another batch sometime in the near future. But I'm going to cue that up and let you folks listen to that. When I jump back in after that, it'll be time to do the official, even though I've tasted this like 6 times now, I'm going to do the official taste presentation and give you my unbiased thoughts of it here after having done the last 2 tastings and having let it sit for a little while and see if it's any different than when I initially tasted it. And since I am outside, we do have outside sounds. There's some traffic and things, so we're just going to get through it. So here is the combined review between myself and This Uncanny Earth's Robert Solomon. And here we are, continuing the 100th episode of the Uncanny Spirits Club. You all know who that is.
Who it is?
But if you, for some reason, don't know,
Which you should know.
I put us both on here, this Uncanny Earth.
You should know
That's
who
right.
I am. You should know who I am. It's me. It's
Yeah.
me. This is what we do, baby. It's me. It's your boy.
And now we're going to try to be upbeat. As of this recording, we just came back from a funeral. So,
Yeah.
and that being said, let's dedicate this episode.
It is dedicated
Because-
to our boy James Bryan.
Yeah.
The sultry one. Sultry one.
He wasn't a drinker, as far as I'm aware.
Not at all.
And that's fine. I'm not going to say anything positive, negative to that. That was his choices in life, and that's great. So, but we're going to drink for him anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna celebrate his life. It's a celebration of life, so we're gonna celebrate his life.
That's what we're going to do. So, and you haven't heard the process about this yet.
I have not.
You have not heard the process. Now, this is Uncanny Badge, or Uncanny Spirit, number 1.
But it says Crystal.
It does say Crystal because that's where I got the bottle from.
It wouldn't be me if I wasn't a bit of a douche.
And what I should have done, as with the last video, I forgot again. And I should just edit all of this out every time I mention it, but I'm going to keep it in because I think it's funny because
It is
obviously my brain's going.
Great.
I have a kit. The kit is called the Do Your Whiskey Kit. And it lets you make whiskey from a neutral spirit, which in this case was Absolute Vodka. They're not a sponsor. Don't think I'm sponsoring them. It's just that's what I used, Absolute Vodka. And what you do is you take the vodka and the kit gives you a set of oak chips, several kinds from several different barrels. It also gives you some infusions, some flavor things. Now, I didn't want to go nuts with flavor stuff because I don't like flavored as much. You do.
What flavors do they have?
Included in the kit, you've got coffee, which I used.
That's hit and miss sometimes, depending on what
Right.
you're drinking.
It has cacao, which I used.
Which is cocoa, isn't it?
It's the chocolate nose.
Yep.
There's ancho chilies, which I did not use.
That's an interesting. People, let me stop real quick. What is with people and making hot?
I don't do it. I don't like it.
I had it one time when was it your cousin?
I think so. Yeah.
Jalapeno tequila.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna be like, man, I've had a hard day at work. Might as well come on, break open the jalapeno tequila.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry to be interrupted.
But that's and it's the
chili-
other flavors. I don't remember the rest of the flavors, but it has like separate things. And the oak chips that it comes with are American oak, which I used, French oak, which I also used because I double oaked it.
Oh, let's see. That's not
I
good.
double oaked it.
You're taking the freedom out of the bottle.
And then it had a couple other kinds, and I don't remember what those are because I haven't used them.
So does all this come like? Does this come in like separate little
Yep.
bags and all
Little
that jazz?
tubes and like little test tubes, basically, with 2 of the sample bottles like this, plus some filters, so
That's
you can filter it
legit.
back and forth.
That is a legit.
Comes with the
bottle.
corks and everything.
I like that bottle, and it's got a solid. Is that a synthetic or is that a? Is that
It's
a wood?
synthetic cork.
Synthetic is it's a real big thing, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't care for it. But I enjoy it not breaking. Like if you guys have ever had old wine that like has been put up,
It falls apart.
sometimes
just
once that
slightly.
cork hits that wine, it's a wrap for that.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
And I've pointed that out in my videos a lot too about that. Oh, this is a synthetic. This is an organic. But to me, it doesn't make a huge difference as far as the taste is concerned.
I've
I
never
haven't-
been one to be like, man, this bottle tastes a lot different since they put
Yeah.
the synthetic cork in.
I pointed it out for people who watch, and if you guys feel strongly about it, that's cool. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I don't care either way.
Yeah.
I don't mind a wood cork, but on the same token, the synthetic isn't going to catch as much moisture inside of it.
Mhm.
That'll cause it to decay and rot. So
Now the process for this, according to the instructions, which I followed the
if
instructions
there's one thing instructions he will follow, it's this.
because this is important.
This is important.
And I'll tell you the difference between how I followed the instructions with this
Okay.
and that. I still followed the instructions, but
Okay.
there is a difference. I put in the American oak chips for 2 weeks, let it soak, strained those out, put in the French oak for 2 weeks, strained those out, and then I put in the coffee and the cacao bean
Ooh.
infusion for a week.
That's a good mix.
Just a week.
That's a good flavor mix.
Um,
Sorry.
Oh no,
I was gonna say. I totally forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, this is a make your own whiskey kit, correct?
yes, you have to provide this initial spirit, which is a grain neutral spirit,
It's like
which
vodka.
is vodka.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned before, there are some big whiskey companies, distillers, that make some of their versions that way. High West Distillery has several bottles that you can buy off the shelf anywhere. They're based, I think, in Colorado. Probably wrong.
Can you
But-
use like Everclear for this?
Potentially, yeah, because it's straight moonshine, basically.
It's
Like legal moonshine.
yeah.
Um,
So any of that like that clear type of
Yeah.
alcohol you can use,
Yeah.
except gin, obviously, because gin's
It's already been
infused with
infused, yeah.
botanicals and things.
I mean, you could try to make a whiskey out of that.
Oh,
It'd be
I
interesting.
want to.
I don't know if I'd be adventurous enough to try
I feel like the flower notes and the oak notes would
Yeah.
contrast. I don't think they would
And
complete each other.
the oak
Com-
process is touchy.
Yeah.
Because you'll see what I mean when you first taste this. It's something. On the test bottle, which I made first, you can see it's darker.
Yeah.
All of the times are doubled on this.
Okay.
The oak chips are 4 weeks each.
No.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take a look. We're going to taste both on here so you can contrast them. We're going to do the main bottle first because that's the better of the two.
Cream, dark chocolate.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there's the
American
list.
Sweetheart, Bird's Eye Chili,
Bird's eye chilies, not anchovies.
chai mix.
Yeah.
Like a tea?
Yeah, chai tea, basically.
Ugh. I don't really like chai tea. Though. Coffee beans, coca beans,
Hmm.
orange peel, and then one of my favorites, cinnamon.
Yeah.
Can you throw no cinnamon in here?
Because I didn't
get
want to
it.
go that route yet, but I still have those.
I get it.
And I'm going to get a second kit or see if I can get the ingredients separately because I need more of the wood chips if I'm going to make more.
Yeah.
That's the only downside.
Can't just go to Home Depot and buy some wood chips.
Yeah, it's not going to be exactly the
You
same.
can be like, "Ew, why am I poisoned?"
So everything was doubled with the initial batch, and it's something. It's something. I don't really care for this one.
Okay. Like I said, he said nobody's cared for it yet, so I'm wondering if I'll be the odd man out that actually does care.
This one starts off giving you like some kind of an impression,
Okay.
and then it settles differently.
I'm very excited.
I think it starts off kind of like, ooh, and then it ends really nicely. Like the ending on this is fantastic. It makes the beginning worth it.
So what are we trying first?
We're gonna be doing the main one. This
You
is
want to do the main? You want to do the test one first?
No.
Because you said the test one is something.
the test one we want to do afterwards, so you know what it could have been. This is what it is. That's what it could have been.
I don't like anything you're saying right now.
So we're just gonna take a little bit, just straight up. I'm only going for half because we're not gonna take just the shot. We're gonna sip on it a little bit so you can kind of get that flavor profile. Give it a sniff.
I can smell it from here.
Yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
Yep.
It's something.
yeah.
It's something.
Make sure that doesn't get anything off your food. There we go. Okay. It starts off rough, like I said, but I think the finish is good.
All right.
Part of the problem was I like double oak, and I thought it was going to taste like the double oak that I like. It did not exactly turn into that.
Yeah, because I think, yeah.
I shouldn't have double oaked it.
Yeah,
I should have kept with one.
We'll find out.
But-
Cheers.
See what I mean?
Mm,
It starts off with that heavy wood,
there it is. It's
and
very
then it still
burnt.
comes up a little bit.
It's not terrible. If you would have single oaked this,
Yeah.
it'd have been fire. Because right off the bat, I got the coconuts. I caught it. And I'm like, ooh, if I could ride this throughout the drink. But then that wood sort of takes over.
Yeah.
Burns. And then the aftertaste is good.
The aftertaste.
That little
is
hint,
excellent.
little notes of coca and a little bit of coffee behind it. Yeah.
I love the
fire.
way it ends up. Like that beginning.
The beginning's tough.
That beginning's tough to get through.
It's too many. You got too many flavors going on at one time.
Yeah.
So the more prominent flavor is going to push the more mild flavor, which is your cocoa, your coffee. It's going to put that to the side and then push through. Like Like I was talking earlier, hops, like with
Yeah.
IPAs. Hops. That's what it feels like. You're like wood.
It was a learning experience.
I think
I'm glad I did it.
I think if you just would have put in maybe the American or the French,
Mhm.
but now what are the differences?
The American oak is more of a sweet, like a standard bourbon kind of taste, because that's what most bourbons are.
Yeah.
The French oak gives you like a dark chocolate kind of sensation,
I think the French would have went well, would have paired
with
well,
the coffee and the cacao.
or it would have tangled into the cacao and it wouldn't have been great. So I think maybe the American, I would do both. I would try the American, do this, and then try the French and do this. And I think you'll have a goal because I like the aftertaste and I like that little space of like, okay.
And I'm going to keep experimenting too. This is the first initial bottle, but I'm going to do different recipes. There's also a little bit of vanilla in here. I forgot. I put some vanilla extract.
Yeah, because I can taste it.
I put some vanilla extract.
You can smell a little bit of the vanilla. Like if you smell it, now that it's been uncorked and poured and the air's got to it.
Yeah.
Did you try this yet? Dropping water in it? Dropping a single drop of water to see if it opened up the flavor at all?
I think I did, but I don't remember if it helped.
All right.
I think I did. But we're going to finish it off. It's an interesting trip.
I know
it is.
The second shot wasn't great.
Because there's so much wood.
Yeah.
It's the double oak thing.
It's almost like it burns your tongue so that you can't taste. I think just if you'd had one oak, this would have been an amazing whiskey. I've been like, man, we need to pour that up, put that on some ice. This on some ice. Oh my goodness, that'd have been fantastic. But because of the double oak, it's too woody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the consensus I've gotten from everyone that's tried it too, which hasn't been very many. There's only a couple other people that have had some of this, because it's not something I'm just be like, hey, try this.
Right. No, I get it.
This bottle. But
yeah, it's not bad. Like I said, you knock that off. You leave one wood chip in, then you do the others. And I think maybe on another one, you come to one of these Christmas parties one time and make one the same one, but put cinnamon with it. Oof. Come on.
Could be. I thought about making a built-in old-fashioned as well, like with the orange people. Orange people. No politics.
There's a I was about to say
somebody out there is going to be like, oh,
that's prime time politics time.
The orange peel, because that's an ingredient in an old-fashioned.
Yeah.
So I may do that. I've got ideas, and that's what this was good for, ideas. And that's why I've made this the 100th episode, because it's all about ideas, the variety.
And he did it himself. So I respect it, because it takes time. I knew about this. I didn't know exactly what was going on.
I kept him in the dark about the process. I showed him some stuff, but I was like, you're going to find out.
I'm cool with that.
I wanted a surprise factor.
I'm interested to see where he goes from here, because that first batch is always a learning experience. It's never going to be your best, because you're going to have your own thoughts. You're going to be like, I can add this. That'd be great. Because we got to remember, it's not what you like, it's what everybody likes. So just because you like eating wood chips from the Home Depot pile doesn't mean everybody else wants to eat those wood chips. And I'll say this, I'm a fan of a wood taste in dark liquors, whiskeys, bourbons, brandies, things like that. I'm not a fan of wood tastes in clear liquors like the Terramana, which had it was like they just said, get rid of the agave and just throw wood in it and have the rock give it the finisher and you're done. Yeah. But like I said, I like it. If I had to give it on a scale of like 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 5 or 6. It's not the worst thing I've ever had. It's not the best thing I've ever had. It needs improvement, but I think if anybody can do it, you can improve upon the design.
It's got potential. So. And that's why I'm excited about it. Now, that brings us to what I started with. Bear in mind,
I put 3 types of wood chips.
No, it was still the same recipe.
Okay.
It's the same recipe, but it's not the same. And all the times are doubled. So it's got that oak in there for twice as long each time.
Oh.
Instead of 2 weeks, it's 4 weeks for each set of chips.
So you didn't do quick maths?
Nope.
Oh.
No standard math either. Plus 2 weeks on the infusion. And before you have it, I'm just going to say that mostly the consensus has been a coffee-soaked block of wood. which is not inspiring confidence. That's why this isn't the batch that I would present to people. This is just
The
to,
coffee's so
fun
block
here.
of wood.
yeah,
All
it's
right, well,
it's something. It's something. That's all I can.
so
All I
block
can
of
say.
wood.
That's all I can say. And I'm just gonna put a little because I'm not even
I
gonna put
swear,
as
if
much
I
as
like
last time.
this, we're not gonna be friends.
If you like this, you're gonna be the only person that has liked it so far.
I like my coffee. Coffee. I like my coffee soaked in a block of wood. How did you know?
Yeah, this is an experience right here. So this was
Smell it.
batch number 1.
Believe it or
It
not,
still smells good.
so far
It
it
still
doesn't
smells
know. The other one smelled very alcoholic at first when I smelled it. This one doesn't smell as alcoholic. Like it does. It means it's alcohol, so it's always going to have a little hint of that alcohol smell. This does not. I swear, if I like this is going to be a problem. I'm keeping the bottle. Okay. All
Let's try it.
Let's try it. All right. Here we go. Oh.
Ooh. See?
I'll tell you what, though. This isn't bad. And I'll tell you why. I don't taste the wood so much, but damn, does it hit you with that coffee taste right in the mouth. Like it just pulls back and blasts you right in your mouth with the coffee taste, which I don't mind. I don't mind. It's not terrible. I think that paired with like a cherry Coke or a regular Coke would be phenomenal.
You could make almost a sort of a coffee espresso.
You could
with
do
this
that
if
too.
you had
Yeah.
something sweet. It's still,
Yeah.
it's not undrinkable.
Believe it or not, you could pour a little bit of that into your coffee in the morning with a little bit of creamer. I think that shot with a little bit of creamer would be fantastic.
Maybe some Baileys or something. For people who can drink Baileys, because I can't.
Oh, he can't. Yeah, I was about to go get the creamer upstairs and let
Yeah.
you try it, but I can't because it's not. It's not above board for you.
Yeah. They know about my lactose thing. I bring it up almost.
Oh, yeah.
People bring
We
it up.
know. You're as bad as CrossFit and vegans.
But and you know, I like parts of
It's
this,
not terrible.
which is why I keep bringing it out to
To be
compare.
honest, I kind of like that one better than the other one. Only because the first part of that other one, like you get hit with the wood, but then there's that like maybe a millisecond, maybe half a second, maybe a second, 2 seconds, where you get this beautiful taste of coffee and chocolate interwoven. And I'm like, I want to ride there. And then it's like, no wood. It's like, it comes back like, no, I'm wood. And I'm like, damn.
The longer that the wood is in there, the smoother it gets.
Because that is damn smooth. That
It's
is
just-
a smooth one.
The problem is it took so much of that. It took so much out of it.
How much wood chips do you put in each batch?
In the test bottle, like the little test tubes are about this big.
How big is the wood chips? Are we talking like that big?
Yeah.
Roughly?
And I used about half of
Okay.
that in this.
So
and I used
maybe
more
if you're
for
going
this.
to elongate the process, maybe put less wood chips in it and maybe more of your flavor enhancers to sort of overpower the wood. It still would give you the smooth, the smooth flavor, but it would also give you, because that bottle isn't terrible. Like it's not horrible.
It's not undrinkable. It's not something
not
that
at
I would
all.
want to
Listen,
pour down.
You're talking to somebody who has drank things
Like-
that most human beings should not consume.
It's not the old smuggler.
It's not Nikolai vodka. For those of you that have drank Nikolai, it's the only alcohol that I've ever poured out, and it was almost a full bottle. It was that bad. Like I won't drink it. Me and a buddy tried to dilute it with everything under the sun: Coke, Sprite, Kool-Aid, other stuff. Nothing would kill the taste. So I dumped it down the side because vodka is not something, I don't know any sane human being that drinks vodka straight. Like gin, we talked about this earlier. If you drink gin straight, probably an alcoholic. But I do like the Pink Whitneys because it's got pink lemonade in it. I like that just by itself, chill. But vodka, I've never heard anybody be like, yo, let's start doing vodka. I'm sure there's people out there that do it. I'm not saying it's not. And a chilled shot of goose isn't horrible. But I think if you take that recipe and put less wood chips, put more flavor enhancers, if you're going to space it out on a longer period, you need to realize that, while it might smooth it out, you're also going to basically kind of sabotage it a little bit because you did it with the first batch. You kind of sabotaged your own batch. I
Yeah.
don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm just giving you my honest take.
That's a fact, though, because I was just learning.
Because you're like, I like the taste of wood. But listen, your flavor palette is much different than mine.
Mhm.
You're a person who likes the taste of swamp. You love peat.
I do like peated whiskeys. I do like.
And I had the
smoked
one.
stuff.
Listen, and I have to admit, I had the one, the Octomorph, and it wasn't the worst thing I'd ever had, but it wasn't the best thing I'd ever had. I'm not a person that likes peated scotches. It's not. I don't want to taste like I just got it out of the bog. Right? That's me personally. But I think this, like I said, if you're going to push the process longer, add less chips, add more flavor enhancers, because I think you'd have something like this.
Yeah.
I think if you took the French oak
Yep.
and the cinnamon and just made something out of the French oak and cinnamon, I think that'd be fire. Because then you got your dark chocolate notes, but you got cinnamon in that interwoven. Stop. Like you're onto something here.
The good thing about this too is that I used Absolute vodka, like I said.
Absolutely.
It's a like a $30 bottle.
You ever thought about using Goose? It's a higher quality vodka.
That's potential too, but I didn't want to spend a whole lot because if it was not going to be great, but I didn't want to go bottom shelf.
How much do you have to use per batch? Like if you make one bottle, how much vodka are you using? In terms of like
if I was using the test, I would just use this one.
Could you use a fifth and be okay with a fifth?
Possibly.
Because I would get a fifth of Goose. Yeah,
this is about
that's
not
almost
full
a bottle.
bottle,
That's almost
but it's pretty close.
That's what 700. That's a 750.
Because this held a full
bottle.
bottle. You can see how much I've had, whereas with other people, how low it's still pretty full. But
listen, I do want to say you've done a good job.
It was worth doing.
But you're sabotaging your own work. And we had this conversation about the stuff we were talking about in the car, about that.
Yeah.
You're doing it for your tastes, and you're not doing it for everybody's taste. You're doing it based on what you would like.
Yeah.
And you need to do it based on what everybody else would like.
And I kind of feel like when I first thought about doing it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to make something that I'm going to like. But then I thought, what if I make this to see what other people think? I think
good call.
It's a good basis to start with something that I would like.
Yes.
But then open it up from there.
Yes.
Which is why I again wanted to make this the 100th episode, because it's a big experience. It's the path that got here that makes it.
What's the price point for the kit?
That I have to find out, because I got it as a gift.
Oh, that's right.
I have to look it up.
My bad.
And that's going to be somewhere in this entirety of the video, because all of this is my tastings and everything. People all meshed into a mass. So somewhere in the course of this video, if I haven't told you already, because I don't remember where this is going to go versus my other ones, I'm going to organize it then. You guys know me. We do it kind of slapdash around here. But I will have the price available before this is finished, so that if you want to make it at home, you can make your own. And I would love to hear your results as well.
I might even try my hand at this.
Because I'm going to do more. I'm not going to just let this sit and be like, okay, it was fun, and then that's it. I'm going to test out a little bit more, taking the advice I've gotten from other people to play around with it.
Have people given you the same advice I've given you for the most part?
Similar. People have suggested maybe if you do a little bit of less of this, or a little bit more of this, or a little time things, because nobody has taken it straight up and said, wow, this is excellent, excellent. Which I don't take as an insult. But I take it as that's important information.
Here's the problem, though. That's because we've had better.
Yeah.
That's because we've had me and you both.
Yeah.
We've had some top shit. You can say what you want about the Octo more. I might not be a big fan of it, but it's a pricey bottle.
Yeah.
It ain't cheap. So they did something right. I prefer, I'm a big fan of the salted caramel whiskey that Crowd makes. I don't like the other brands because they don't get it quite right. It's too sweet. But I think that if you take into account what everybody said, pick apart each piece of advice and funnel that into your next batch, I think your number 3 bottle has potential, because you have potential with both of these.
Yeah.
But you let the first one be more of like, this is what I like. And that's cool if that's what you like, but you realize what you like doesn't work because it's too woody. It's too much. It's burning too much. Like that first out the gate, slap you in the mouth with the burn. I don't mind that sometimes. Whiskeys do that. Maker's Mark is a big culprit of like, I'm burning straight out the gate.
Yeah.
But the problem is you give a little glimpse of what could be between the first burn and the second burn. It's like that brief window where I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then it's like, nope, right back to burning again. And I'm like, darn, he almost had it. I think if you can lock that in, I think you have a gold mine. I think that is the kind of whiskey that would sell in the wintertime. Like if that's something I would drink in the wintertime, Christmas season, I'd be all over that because I like whiskey that has hints of chocolate or cinnamon. I like cinnamon whiskey. I don't drink a lot. I've never drank Fireball, and I guess that's like the ultimate cinnamon whiskey
It's been years.
drink.
It's
If
you can get it in those little tiny plastic bottles off like wherever, then it's not really quality that you want.
Do you know there's two different kinds? You know, there's the kind in the plastic bottles that isn't as alcohol like they sell at convenience stores, and there's the glass bottle.
Yeah.
People out there always buy glass. Always buy glass. Always buy glass. If it's not in glass, don't drink it. Do not drink it. I know that
That's something I've said several times
was in
on this
a
channel.
plastic thing.
Yep.
And that's too bad because I feel like with the money that Bethesda has, they could have put out a bottle.
Yeah.
They'd charge more.
Sure. But people would pay it.
Yes.
People would have paid.
Gosh, yes. Jones Soda's Nuka Colas. I was one of the ones who got the first batch, and I drank it. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Just leave it sit or sell it? I'm gonna
leave it till fallout happens and somebody finds it out there.
I'm gonna drink it. I'm a person that you open the stuff. You want to collect it, fine, but enjoy it. You know, enjoy it, open it, drink it.
Yep.
You know, but I personally think that this is fantastic. I think it has the makings of something that could be amazing, as it is now. But I drink it probably because it's not the worst thing. But I would definitely not drink it straight.
And you could, I can see mix opportunities in both of these.
Yes,
I can see mix, which is still, I still see as a good, like, well, that's good then because it won't ruin other things necessarily. Because that's when you first go into it, you wonder, is it going to turn out good? Oh, is it going to turn into like absolute garbage?
Because it could have turned out way worse.
It could have.
Could have been a whole
and I was
burn.
prepared for that. I was prepared for it to just be like.
It could have been a burn from beginning, like Maker's Mark. Burn. All it does is burn but that's a Kentucky bourbon for you. It burns and it burns and it never stops.
But I'm pleased with what I came out with, even if it's not exactly something that I would want to keep buying on the shelf. I think I can go from there and I can make something that's really good. And that's a good inspiration for everybody.
Nice work. We'll give you that. That's nice
absolutely.
Work. I just think I honestly think you've learned more in making 2 batches than most people learn in making multiple. Now, the good thing is obviously he can have a little wiggle room being a person who's making these at home. If he'd have been a big distiller, this would have been a whole other issue.
Yeah.
But they pay people big money to come in and flavor test and do all this before anything happens. But that being said, it does have the makings of something that I would buy at Giant Eagle or an Acme or a liquor store. I think it has that. I just think you pick apart all the advice you've been given, and I think you go back to the drawing board, and I think you say, okay, I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna put this in, and we're gonna see where we're at. And I think your next batch is probably gonna be fantastic.
I have high hopes.
Fantastic.
I have high hopes.
I think it's going.
So that's it for this portion of the 100th episode. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you tune in. We're going to do a couple other videos separate from here. So if you see some videos in the far future, like episode 135 or something like that, and we're still sitting here on this couch.
We got something made.
We haven't been here that long.
We got something made.
We do have that. So there's
the old stomping grounds.
So we're going to do some stuff for the future.
The future.
And you'll see us here then again.
Again.
So thank you. Cheers. And we're back. So those were Rob from this Uncanny Earth's thoughts, and very nuanced. A lot of good discussion in that. And I like how so far everyone that I've had try this stuff has had different opinions on it and different outlooks, and have given me kind of some new perspectives and some ways to kind of think about how I'm presenting it, how I'm creating it. But now it's time for the final tasting. So, and I'm going to do what I've been doing with everybody. We're going to try the finished product, and then I'm going to go to the first batch and compare. So, I'm just going to take a little smidge. Nothing real spectacular. It still smells good. It smells a little fruity now, actually, like blueberries, which is weird. I don't know where that came from. Yeah, a little bit of blueberry. It definitely smells like alcohol. Like it's very fumey, and I'm wondering if it's become more that way just by sitting in the glass. I haven't added or subtracted anything from this compared to those other two videos. It's exactly how I left it after I finished making it. But it's possible the different temperature variations in the kitchen where I keep it have done some weird things. But so this is Uncanny Spirit number 1, batch number 2. And it does have that heat in the middle. It's kept that initial bit of smoothness, and then that kind of woody heat in the middle, and then it's settling into a really pleasing chocolatey kind of goodness. And it still reminds me of chocolate cereal with marshmallows, marshmallowy chocolate. Not like a s'more, not like a s'mores kind of cereal, but, and it's interesting. I put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. And I'm still trying to decide whether I feel it was really a success or not. I believe it was a learning experience, and I think that was successful. The more and more I think about this, this is not something that I normally would buy off the shelf if I knew what it was ahead of time. If I hadn't made this, it wouldn't be something that I would normally buy. But I have not tried to mix this with different things yet, so I'm not sure. I haven't gotten to that part that far in my various taste testings. I didn't want to get too far into this bottle before I got the 100th episode done. And we're over an hour now, so you can tell that I've put a lot of time into all this. Let's take the second sip, because you always take 2, one and then the other. Now, once the palate adjusts to the first. And it does bite you in the back of the throat. The more and more I consider it, the more I feel like that Rob was probably correct, and it's the double oak that is causing this to be a little bit less than what it could be. I think it's stretching out the flavors in too many directions, and it's canceling some things out that could have been brought forward with one or the other kind of wood chip. So I think with the next batch I try, because there's going to be a batch 3. Batch 3 will probably be, I'll stick to the recipe primarily, but I'm going to go single oak. I'm going to use the coffee beans, I'm going to use the cacao, but I am going to stick to, how's it going, James? Welcome to my 100th episode for the Uncanny Spirits Club. And if you, since you're just tuning in, if you want to see Rob's reaction to what I've got, it's just a few minutes before. So, but thank you for being here anyway. I appreciate the view. And so, yeah, as far as the finished product goes, I'm not entirely certain how I feel about it yet, but I am positive. Now, that being said, let's go back to the test bottle. As I've mentioned in the other 2 tasting videos, the test bottle was aged twice as long as what the final product ended up being. So rather than 2 weeks at a time with the wood chips, it was 4 weeks for each set of wood chips. So that's 8 weeks total, plus 2 weeks with the flavor infusion, the coffee and the cacao. The final version was 2 weeks and 2 weeks, so 4 weeks total for the aging with the wood chips and 1 week with the flavor. So let's see how it's aged now since it's been several weeks. It still smells good. It smells like a deep chocolate smell. It smells better than the final batch, to be honest. It smells better than that batch, which is deceptive. Yeah, you don't get as much of an alcohol smell. You get a lot more of the chocolatey smell to it and the coffee smell. But let's down it and see if my thoughts have changed any from the past 2 tries with Rob and Joshua. And you know, I'm coming around to it. It still has this bitterness to it that is difficult to overcome. But I do like what it is. I like them both for what they both became. But I do have a soft spot for the initial test batch. Regardless of how rough it is kind of to take, it is just so bitter from the coffee. It's such a depth of flavor. The depth is much different compared to the final version. There's so much in there. There's just not enough sweetness. If there was something, that's a good idea too. A lot of good whiskeys do taste naturally a little bit like apple. A lot of Irish whiskeys taste like apple. And I have apple juice in the fridge right now, so I could. But yeah, I'm partial to this. I'm still partial to it, and I think a good compromise between the two would be a great final version if I go for a batch 3. Now that we're here and we're at the end and I've done all these tastings, I'm going to try something a little crazy. I'm going to mix the test batch and batch 2 and see what happens between the two of them. I don't think there's going to be any dramatic difference, but I am wondering how one will affect the other. Now, in that so doing, I am going to toss a couple of drops, just a little smidge of water in there, just to cut it down a tiny, 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 tiny bit. I don't want to dilute it, but I do want to let those flavors kind of open up a little bit. So let me take a little bit of batch number 2. And then I'm going to take a little bit of batch number 1, the test batch. And we'll see what happens when both batches are mixed together. Kind of fear for my life. YouTube, please don't take that literally. I'm not in fear of my life. Please don't send an intervention to my house. It smells really nice. It definitely cuts down on the alcohol's flavor. It smells like that chocolate and marshmallow cereal that I keep getting a flavor profile of. There we go. Now that is interesting. It's still got a smidge of the burn. It's still got the heavy wood taste. Still has the chocolate, but everything seems to be a little bit smoothed out. Everything seems a little muted. Except for that bitterness at the very end. It ends on that bitter note. And I'm not getting the marshmallow anymore. I'm getting the coffee still. I'm getting some of the chocolate. It's hard to say. I think I prefer them separate, but that is an interesting set of flavors going on in there. Not as good on the second one. After the palate adjusts to the first one, something's too muted, and it's just a lot of bitterness. So mixing the two, while worthwhile as an experiment, is not something I'll be doing in the future. They're two distinct batches, and they both perform better separately. So that's my final thought on Uncanny Spirit number 1, batch 2, and batch 1. Now again, this was part of a kit called the Do Your Whiskey kit. It includes all of the wood chips that you would need to get started. It includes 2 of these bottles, so you can make test batches. It also includes the various flavors that they recommend, which it's got the bird's eye chilies, the cacao pieces, the coffee, the cinnamon, orange peel, and I think there's one more. Maybe there's only 5. I don't remember. It also has a set of 6 whiskey stones. They're metal. I don't know what they're made out of. I'm sure it says on the package. So that way, if you want to chill your whiskey without diluting it with an ice cube. And the kit is roughly $59.99. You can get it from Amazon. As I mentioned when I was talking about the kit, that is not a product endorsement. I did use it. I did like it. I got it as a gift. I am not paid by these people. I am not sponsored by these people. They do not ask me to do anything for them. It's just something that I got and I tried out, and I'll probably continue to use. So, and thank you everybody that tuned in. It was a long one. I did, like I said, I moved it to both my personal page on Spider Does Things as well as the This Uncanny Earth YouTube channel, because Rob is involved and he was there at the beginning of this the Uncanny Spirits Club, and I'm glad that he was able to provide me with some insight and some reviews. And there's people in the neighborhood walking by, so
me and him used to cuss out each other's dad. I know he didn't know my real dad, but we always used to.
I don't know what that's all about. Interesting conversation. Anyway, I'm going to finish the food I've got on the grill there. Thanks again for tuning in. If you have any thoughts on what you think I could do differently using the kit, or some suggestions on the flavor profiles or the chip types, let me know. Drop a comment on this video in either the This Uncanny Earth page or Spider Does Things. And I look forward to doing more reviews. Here's to the next 100 videos. Thanks for joining me.